Welcome back into the Saturday Sports Report, Fox Sports 1400, now on FM at 98.3, also on the TuneIn Radio app. Glad you could be with us. I want to say thanks to Coach Deion Bryce for joining us this morning. We'll talk to Mark Hauser at 9:45 to preview the Furman-Wofford game tonight. He's the voice of the Terriers. We'll talk to him then. But now we are joined in studio by Coach Zach Rich, Myles Tate, Harris Finley of Dorman basketball. Coach, we'll start with you. Coach Thomas Ryan in a meeting this morning. Is that right?
Yes, sir. The varsity coaches had a region meeting after the last game of the season, kind of go over some end-of-the-season stuff in terms of all-region, all-state.
So assistant coaches don't get stuck with that, right?
No, not me.
So we appreciate y'all being here. Let me ask you this. I'll start with you, Coach. Last night, a win over Gaffney, a big win. It was 52-45, where Gaffney kind of got the early lead. It slowed down. And, Dorman took control, as you talked about a minute ago, with some timely shots. You feel like that the slow pace helped Dorman last night, or did you have liked to see it get a little more up-tempo?
With our roster, we would definitely like to see it kind of get up and down a little bit more. But, our guys were able to kind of really hunker down on defense. They scored 11 points in the first quarter, and then over the second, third, they had 11 combined. So we were really able to kind of push the lead out and extend the lead, with basically – our defense kind of get some stuff in transition, basically try to, get out and run when we could. It had to kind of be in a positional type spots where when we were running, we want to obviously get out and run as much as possible. But last night we had to do it based on our defense.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good defensive effort, especially by Gabe and PJ last night in the post. Harris, we'll start with you, and we'll go to Myles in a second. Senior for the Cavaliers. I want to ask you as a player, when this season started, obviously coming off of a state title run, you heard people talk about you lost this guy and that guy from last year. What was the message from really Coach Ryan and the mentality going into this season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Coach Ryan kept instilling in us that even though we lost 7 or 8 guys last year, that the 7 or 8 guys coming back this year played major roles last year and continue to work, continue to get better, and that we were going to continue to fill that role as starters, as bench players, as the things that the guys did last year. So Coach Ryan just continued to believe in us. We continued to work hard in the offseason, continue to bond it together as teammates, and continue to, like I said, continue to keep working, stay in the gym constantly, and we were able to fill those roles and hopefully come back for another state championship this year.
What makes this team special?
I'd say just the bond between us. We've all grown up together. We've been together a long time now. And just believing in each other, staying with each other, even when things get hard, maybe the other team goes on a run, or earlier this year when we had some tough losses, that we were able to stick together and just play together and keep moving, keep working, and get better throughout the season.
All right, Myles, I'll defer to you now. We talked about the night that Zion came to Dorman, I was driving in, listening to our afternoon show, and they were talking about, obviously the stage was big because Zion would be there, but they were talking about how Myles Tate would handle the atmosphere, the big-time stage. And if anybody was there, they know that you had one of your better games and played phenomenal. What was it like as a sophomore, Zion Williamson coming in all the spotlight on him, and then you playing as well as you did that night against Spartanburg Day School?
Well, really, my teammates helped me out by, setting screens and getting me open and just making me make plays. And Coach had a good plan against Zion. He's a great player, so we had to stop him first before we could score. And we had to just figure out ways to get what we can get.
The first 2 minutes of the game, I think, maybe the first 3 minutes, he had a couple of big dunks. It was like, wait a minute, this might, could get ugly, but you guys just really stayed in there and battled. And what was it like, and what was Coach Ryan's message during that, really first 2 minutes when Zion had, 2 or 3 dunks, I believe?
Well, Coach just wanted us to stay poised and keep our composure throughout the game because, he's going to get his dunks. He's going to do what he do. So we just had to stay poised and just handle the pressure.
Were you seeing him come on the court, the big crowd, any intimidation?
Nah, not really.
Harris says no, Myles says no. So you just like any other game?
Yes, sir.
Coach, I ask you, seeing that performance and seeing as good as going back to that Spartanburg Day School game, the players say they had no, I guess, different nerves than any other normal game. What was it like to have such a big name come in, and then not only that, but get the win?
Well, kind of going back to this season, throughout the season, we've played in some big games. It's kind of prepared us for, environments like last night at Gaffney and then the home game with the day school. We've played, Sumter in a big environment. We played Wilson, number 1 team in 4A in a big environment. So this kind of prepared our team, kind of making this stretch run. So having, Spartanburg Day come in, with that big crowd. We had the luxury of it being at home.
Right.
A lot of our guys have played against those day school kids for years, so they're all, a lot of them are very close on and off the court. So that's probably why they didn't feel intimidated. I mean, they know Zion, they know, Chandler Lindsay, a couple of those guys, on and off the court. So they were kind of able to embrace the environment. We had a great home crowd for that in terms of, pro Dorman, fans. And even last night at Gaffney, they were kind of littered throughout, but there was a big, pro Dorman, contingent there at Gaffney. So hopefully it'll kind of continue on as we start the playoffs next week.
Kind of talking about what I talked with Harris, Coach. You see this team and how well they play compared to last year's team. And when you look at the rest of the field in 5A, you like Dorman's chances to really go against anybody with their bench and as deep as they are?
Well, I think we, you talk about it all the time as a coaching staff, you want to peak at the right time, and coming off that Gaffney loss, we've now won 5 straight, 4 by double figures, last night on the road at Gaffney, so we're starting to try to play our best basketball. But the thing is, last night was also huge, not just for a region title for these kids that have earned it, with 8 seniors, that have earned it and played hard for that region title, but also look at the playoff bracket that'll be announced here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Last night was huge just based on where we're at, compared to some other, those, top 5, top 10 teams in the upper state.
As far as the region, what you're headed to next, what do you think is, what competition do you think is going to probably challenge y'all the most?
Well, you obviously have the region teams that have won, their regions. Obviously, you're playing their best basketball right now as well. West Side is the 1 seed that'll also be matched up in our side of the bracket. The other side of the upper state bracket, you have Gaffney, again, just like last year on the other side of us. You have Nation Ford, who has a lot of talent, a lot of depth. You have Wade Hampton, who we split with earlier in the season. So there's a lot of teams in the upper state that, we're going to have to contend with.
All right, I'll ask Myles first, and then Harris can answer as well. Myles, you played Gaffney twice, Dorman, Burns and Bowling Springs out of the Region 3 5A. Who was the toughest competition you went up against this year?
I'll probably say Gaffney.
Yeah,
because they always tough.
What makes them? What makes them tough? I mean, their style of play, or just their athletes, or what?
Well, they're athletic. They got good players. They got scores, and they study us as well as we study them.
Yeah, absolutely. Harris, would you agree? Gaffney the toughest, or?
Yeah, I mean, Gaffney's always tough, but I think each team presents new challenges that we have to face. What we do is we'll make a game plan. The coaches will help us out with a game plan, and we'll have to execute that game plan. Gaffney has athletes, but so do a lot of other teams. So, I mean, Gaffney's very tough for sure, but I think each opponent we have throughout the region is just as challenging too at the same time.
Coach, due for a break. Can y'all stay one more?
Oh, you got it.
Absolutely. We'll talk. I have a couple of interesting questions I want to ask you guys up next. Harris, Finley, Myles, Tate from Dorman Basketball in the house. They'll join us for one more segment. We'll take a break and then be back in just a few minutes. Back with you on the Saturday Sports Report, Fox Sports 1498.3 in Spartanburg County, anywhere in the world on the TuneIn Radio app. Glad you could be with us as we still have Dorman basketball in the house this morning. I wanted to keep them another segment to continue the conversation. Obviously, they had a big win last night over Gaffney, 52-45. Let me ask you this, and we'll start with Harris on this one. Harris Finley, senior for the Cavaliers. Harris, you play a lot of the summer basketball, the fall basketball. We joked with Dean a lot that used to, it seems like that you didn't play in the fall, but now you play, in the fall as well. What does the summer and the fall leagues do to help you, when it really comes down to the school season, I guess you will? How does it help you?
Yeah, for me, it's just a lot of experience. You see a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like in AAU and fall, you'll see a lot of different defenses, a lot of different ways people can attack you offensively. You definitely definitely feel a lot of experience, a lot of things like that. So I think the biggest thing for me would just be experience playing. So.
And let me ask you this. We hear a lot that the summer leagues, there's no defense played. Is that true?
Not so much. It depends who you play. There's some teams out there that'll get in you and play some good defense. But yeah, it depends on the team you're playing and the tournament you're in. So
now, from a coaching standpoint, Coach, with all the summer leagues and the fall leagues, I know Coach Ryan may have a different answer, but does a coach love all that, or do they wish they would back off a little bit, or do you like all the summer and fall league, for the same players that you'll have on your team?
I mean, as a coaching staff, we definitely want the guys in the gym as much as possible.
Right,
Obviously, we want them, make sure they're taking care of their body, make sure they're eating, and so getting the proper sleep, doing all that stuff that's necessary. But we want them in the gym, as much as possible, working on their game, working on their craft. So whether that's individual skill work, group sessions, playing AAU. I mean, if they're on the court between the lines, that's a good thing.
Myles, you played as well. Did you and Harris? How long have you and Harris played together?
For 3 years.
3 years.
Yes, sir.
On the same summer league team, I guess. Is that right?
We played on the same high school team.
Okay, but different
AAU teams.
Okay,
Yeah.
different AAU teams. Different ages. That's right. So it's split up by ages.
Yeah.
Just a sophomore, Myles. Listen, when you watch Myles play, you forget it's a sophomore sometimes. So, let me ask you this kind of the same question I asked Harris. What does the summer and the fall leagues do to help you as a player? I mean, do you think that those leagues make you better and have helped you get better as a player?
Well, playing against people in summer definitely gets me better, work on my game, because I know people going to bring it at you when you play in the summer. But in the fall, really, that's just – I was playing football this year, so I really didn't get to play a lot. So I had to develop quick when I got back to basketball.
The competition in those leagues is tough, is what you see in the region? You think it is?
It's tough.
And I asked Harris about defense, but, going back to Zion, we see that a lot of these guys get a lot of the looks in all those – the summer leagues and stuff and the AAU leagues, but playing those AAU, games, that was a question I had just, if that helped you for the season. Do you ever get, to a point where maybe March rolls around and you get a 3-month break? Is that right?
Yeah, you get a little break and then you have to get right back to it. Summer league, tournaments and stuff.
Myles, let me ask you this. You're a very special basketball player when just a sophomore. At what age or at what point did you realize to yourself that you've got this ability, that you could be really, really good at the high school level?
Well, my 7th grade year, I started playing for Fat Forest middle school, and I saw the coaches coming to my games, Coach Rich and Coach Ryan, and they'll talk to me and tell me I was going to be a player at Dorman one day. So I just kept that in mind, back of my head, and just kept working.
When going back to that day school game, seeing Chandler Lindsay and Zion, I felt like that. From a guard standpoint, Dorman was the much better team, had the better guard play, you and Harris both. When you go into a game, as a point guard or whatever kind of guard you want to, call yourself, when you go into a game, whether it be against Spartanburg Day School or Gaffney, are you more worried about, and I'm sure Coach Ryan, emphasizes one or the other, scoring or defense?
I say I'm a good defender.
Okay.
But
Coach, you agree?
We're working on it.
But I know my game, I can score too at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Coach, when you see Harris and Myles on the floor, talk about what they both bring to the floor. Obviously a different style of player, but what they both bring to each game.
Well, first off, with those two guys on the floor, there's a comfort level they bring the coaching staff, just because, Harris is a 4-year varsity letterman. Myles has already been on the varsity team for 3 years. They've got some continuity amongst themselves for the last 3 years. So, obviously, we see those two guys on the court, obviously puts us a little bit more at ease, because we know certain teams aren't able to maybe go against us with maybe what they want based on what these guys bring to the table.
When you see teams like Gaffney and go into environments like Gaffney, like last night, 52-45 win, you see Gaffney come out in the first half. We talked about they got off to a good start, hit a couple of shots, had a 11-5 lead or something like that, somewhere around in there. What you talk about, you feel comfortable when Myles and Harris are on the floor. What do they do in particular? Is it the experience that just really sets the coaches to a level where they're calm and can trust those two guys to make plays?
We hear about with basketball with a point guard being the cliche, the quarterback on the court, on the floor. Harris is coming over to us last night constantly, because it's a loud environment last night. As if you were there, if you heard on the radio, it was a loud environment. So Harris was constantly coming over to us, trying to relay the whatever messages we're trying to get to the team. What play call offensively, what we're in defensively. And having that kind of leadership, being able to kind of relay the message back from the coaching staff back to the team is something when you go into a big environment like that, which these guys have been in big environments the last few years, we're able to have some confidence going into that.
What about the experience last year? Harris, you can answer this first, and then Coach and Myles as well. You played in the state championship game last year. Playing in the state championship game and winning it, does that give you confidence and a little? It obviously gives you something going into this season, into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, for sure. Every game you play, you always want to get confidence from the game. You take the goods away from it and the bad, and learn from the bads. But yeah, for sure, playing in the playoffs in state last year gives us definitely a big experience boost this year. But like I said, you get your confidence from getting in the gym, getting up shots, working with your teammates. So I think confidence for me is not something that comes from a game, but yeah, from the workouts, the shots, the things like that. So.
Yeah, I agree with him. Well, experience comes from playing in the playoffs and, like you said, practice and getting up shots and everything.
All right. The style of play that y'all like to play, from the coaching, from sitting on the sideline, what you like to see, what you'd like to do to execute, and then when you get on the court, you come up with a Gaffney, they want to slow you down and want to change your plans. I know in both ways y'all can y'all win the close games, and I know the fast-paced games. Which one, I know as far as going into the state, which one as far as confidence that we can slow it down and run a half-court set, or if you want to run with us, try your best? Which one, I mean, as far as the confidence level there as far as playing?
I mean, confidence-wise going into the game, we feel good in any situation. We've won games, in the 70s and 80s. We've won games, obviously, like last night, 52-45. So we would much rather try to get up and down. We've got, we feel like we have some depth on the roster. We've got 2 point guards that can really push the ball and facilitate and score. So we'd like to try to get up and down. We could try to exert our will is something we're going to try to do these next, this game next week starting on Wednesday. We're going to try to obviously push the tempo. But if we've got to slow down and call a set, these guys, we do dummy offense. We go 5-on-5 live every practice. These guys know the plays like the back of their hand. So if we've got to slow it down, call a set, we feel comfortable in the offensive sets we have, and we feel comfortable these guys will execute them.
You played Blythewood last year in the state title game. Myles, we'll start with you, and Harris, you can answer. When you play in a game against Spartanburg Day School, or a game against Gaffney at Gaffney, or Upper State or the state playoffs, the state finals against Blythewood last year, does anything change? Obviously, the game plan, as Coach talked about, stays the same. But what, as far as going through your head, Myles, we'll start with you. What changes game per game? Does anything change, or do you have pretty much the same, when you go into a game, do you do this, this, and this, or does anything change, from game to game?
Nah, nothing really changed. I just focus in before the game, get some shots up, and just think about what I got to do to take the win.
Harris, anything? I mean, really, do you have, for example, if you're going against you said earlier that every team in the region brings a different, style of play and different personnel as well. What do you have to do if you're facing Bowling Springs or Gaffney, to prepare yourself to guard, Burns' point guard, or Bowling Springs' point guard, or Gaffney's point guard?
Well, we usually trust that of the coaches a lot. They're usually the ones that come up with our game plan, and we'll go through the game plan with them and try to implement the things they do. But a big thing Coach Ryan says is that it's not about the other team per se, but it's about us doing what we know what we want to do, like getting inside-out threes, playing our game. If we play our game, then we have a pretty good chance of coming out on top with the win. You
have Gabe Bryant and P.J. Hall and Myles and Harris. You can both answer this. What's it like to be able to feed the ball down low and know that your 6'6" guy's going to go up, and pretty much it will. Sometimes, lay it in, just it will. I mean, it's got to be.
It's definitely very nice sometimes, for sure. If you get in the lane and just dump it down to one of the big guys down there, especially with their size, they're able to finish up over their defenders usually. So that's the big thing we emphasize, is feeding it to our two big guys that we have that we know can score or kick it out if they fill a double. So it's a very nice luxury to have for us.
Myles, that question as well, and then I have another one for you after that.
I think it's a great boost to have two big postmen we can get the ball to when we need to. I think we should. Well, our coaches really think we should get the ball in the post more.
Every play, right?
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. How often, and Harris can answer this as well, the Coach Ryan calls a play, you get it in or Harris gets it in. How often, or, I'm sure Coach won't mind, but how often do you just scrap that and you just go play? I mean, has that happened last night? Did it happen, in this region? How many times when you get the ball, forget that, we're going to go play, just like we're playing AAU or anything like that?
Well, it happens a few times when teams try to overplay what we're trying to do.
Right.
You have to make a basketball play and just make the right decision.
If you watch Myles Tate play, you're pretty good at that. So I'm sure that, when you have good coaches like Mark Huff, they're going to game plan as well, around this. They know what you're going to do and you know what they're going to do. So, Harris, you Coach Ryan's not listening. You ever just said, no, we're not going to do that. They're just going to go play.
I know. We completely trust Coach Ryan. We do. And of course, I'm saying, you think I'm saying that because Coach is around, but we trust Coach Ryan and things he does. But like Myles said, sometimes, and like you said, Coach Huff game plans for us. Other coaches game plan. So they see sets we run and they try to play a pass or play some type of play. And like being a good basketball player, we have to go and make plays. So, yep.
Coach, I'll leave the last question to you. When you see guys like Harris Finley and Myles Tate on the floor, and you lose guys like this year, losing Harris Finley, what is the mentality now of Dorman basketball to really be the next man up? You've seen guys like PJ Hall just all of a sudden transform into a great player. What's the mentality even with a JV program kind of transitioning into that varsity role?
Well, one thing we coming into this season, we were still, the coaches voted, still voted as number one coming into the season. And then we sat there and looked at it, that's losing, 5 senior starters.
Right.
So it's kind of a testament to our program and what Coach Ryan and our staff has been able to do with these players. They put in the work like Harris said, these guys, it's kind of is that next man up mentality. And they know that, hey, you're part of a program. You're part of Dorman Hoops. We preach attitude, effort, toughness. It's one of those things that they know. Whether you're on the middle school level, you're a part of our Dorman Hoops family. If you're on JV, sub-varsity, ninth grade level, you're part of the Dorman Hoops family. So, we're trying to, continue to build our program, build our brand, and obviously try to continue to win basketball games.
Do you know, I know you don't do a lot of this, but in the lower state last year was Blythewood. Do you have any teams this year that you would probably predict to make it back to state?
Right now, Blythewood's number one in the state. After when we lost a few weeks ago, Blythewood jumped us. They're number one in the state. They're rolling right now.
So they can make it back.
Blythewood's playing extremely well right now. They've, last night I had a close one actually. Beat Spring Valley by 3, but they're pretty much blowing people out right now. And then Conway has a Providence signee, Jimmy Nichols. West Ashley, very talented team out of the Charleston area. Yeah. There's some capable teams in the lower state. And they're going to have some wars on their hands, just like we're going to have up here in the upper state.
Yeah, well, Coach Harris, Myles, we appreciate your time, and we wish the best of luck to you guys. Wednesday at home, is that right? 7 o'clock against JL Man. Used to be in your region.
Yes, sir.
So have you started watching film on them yet?
We got some film last night, and we've already started staying up watching it.
Well, we appreciate y'all's time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having us.
We'll take a break, come back on the Saturday Sports Report.